The r/letsnotmeet subreddit is perhaps one of the most chilling places on the internet. It is full of true stories of spine-tingling encounters. From stalkers to crazy strangers to narrowly escaping murderers and kidnappers, this forum is full of true horror stories that will make your stomach turn. Today, we look at a few of these stories from the r/letsnotmeet subreddit. If you have been here since the beginning, you might have noticed that the name for the channel has changed, so allow me to welcome you to the Crafty Cryptid, a channel dedicated to the dark, the mysterious, and the bizarre told in story form. If you enjoy this scary story time, please subscribe and ding the notification bell. I upload multiple videos every week. Let me know in the comments below what chilling stories you'd like to hear next, and leave a thumbs up to help with the YouTube algorithm. Our first r/letsnotmeet story comes to us from Redditor Excuse You What. I apologize in advance since I am not a good writer, but I'll do my best to share my experience. To better paint the picture, here is a description of myself at the time of this incident 3 years ago. 5'5", 26-year-old woman, medium length, bleach blonde hair, curvy 175 pounds, wearing black high-waisted tights and a pink crop top. 3 years ago, I was walking home late at night from my friend's house. It was dark, and at the time I lived in a rough part of a large city. I've had many sketchy situations that I have gotten myself out of, so I guess I felt sort of invincible, like nothing truly scary could happen to me. When I walk alone, I always stay very alert, and I'm aware of my surroundings for my own safety just in case. About halfway home and roughly 10 minutes to my apartment, I noticed a van started trailing me. I was used to this, since in my city, it's very common for a young woman in a rough area to get propositioned for sex. It's embarrassing how desensitized to this I was. I did my usual and crossed the road so that I would be walking beside the traffic heading in the other direction. I wasn't scared, just annoyed. Then the van turned down a side street, then back onto the road I was on, and pulled up to me. At this point, I still wasn't scared. Again, this has happened so many times, and it never mattered if I was wearing something that showed more skin, or if I was wearing a winter coat zipped from just below my chin all the way down to my ankles. That area is notorious for that type of activity. I decided to be firm and told the person sternly, I'm not interested. I noticed there were 2 men in the van. They looked almost identical and may have been twins or brothers. Both men had a very, very dark complexion, dark eyes, and short dark hair. The van didn't move. I was super annoyed and crossed the road again to get away. At this point, I figured this would be enough for them to stop following me. They didn't. They kept circling back every time I crossed the road. I've never had to put that much effort into getting a horny pervert to leave me alone. So this is when I started feeling unsafe. They zipped by me at the speed the traffic was flowing in, and I yelled for them to fuck off. I thought it finally worked. It had been 3 minutes and I hadn't seen the van, so I thought I was in the clear. Just in case, I pulled my phone out and was getting ready to call my sister that I lived with. Just then, the van pulled up to me very quickly, and before I could even blink, one of the men jumped out of the van, opened the back door, and approached me quickly in an aggressive manner, as if he was about to scoop me up and throw me into the vehicle. The traffic in that area is very inconsistent. It was dead, and I imagine that is what they were waiting for. Just as the man was about to place his hands on me, I tilted my phone and said, "You are being filmed in my live video chat. I gave my friends your license plate number, and the police have been notified." I was so scared, but I didn't let that show. I stayed as calm as I could. The man paused like he was considering if I was bluffing or telling the truth, so I tilted the phone more as if to give the fake audience a better look at him. Then he jumped into the van, and they sped off. I have never been the same since that night. I'm afraid of walking alone now, even in the daytime. Stay safe out there. Two creeps in a van. Let's not ever meet. I hope karma finds you both soon. This story is horrifying. The woman, who would have undoubtedly become a kidnapping victim, was lucky that she thought so quickly on her feet. Unfortunately for women all over the world, these kinds of scary true stories happen a lot. Our next Redditor has another chilling tale of being stalked as a woman in what should have been a very public, very safe area, the subway. This story comes from Redditor ZingingCutie30. Hi, this is my first post, so I'll do my best to make this interesting. This happened to me in the summer of 2015. I was dating a guy who lived in the city, and I was living at home at the time in the suburbs. Neither of us had a car, and since I lived at home with my bedroom right next to my grandma's, I always went to him. I'd take the subway to his place every week and stay for the couple of days I had off from work. To get to his apartment required taking 2 trains. One day, I was headed to see him. It was super hot out, and I was wearing a skirt with straps, a crop top, and knee-high socks. I wanted to look cute. I guess I feel this is important as I probably stood out in this outfit, and unfortunately I probably should have been more careful about what I was wearing, which sucks. Anyway, I'm on the first train, and after a few stops, I notice a man get on. I kind of couldn't not notice him as he chose to stand right in front of where I was sitting and stare at me rather than taking an empty seat. It made me feel weird. The man in general gave me a very creepy vibe. He was probably in his 40s, looked unkempt, but otherwise kinda just a basic looking white dude whose face I can't even picture now. So I get off at the last stop and head through the station to where I need to catch the second train. But I noticed this guy is following me, which at first I figured wasn't a big deal. He could have been going to the same place. So to get to the platform I needed to be on, you have to go up some stairs, and I realize he's right behind me. I decided to turn around and go to a different platform, which happened to be packed with people, thinking if he follows me then this is bad, but maybe I can lose him in the crowd. He follows me, and I try to duck out of view before going back to the actual platform I needed to be waiting on. I get there, and for a few minutes I feel better, until I see him again. He must have known I'd be there, after I'd gone up there and then turned around. Plus, it was the only other platform, and most likely he saw me the whole time. There weren't too many people waiting compared to the other side, but a few trains came that were so full I didn't bother to try to get on, and neither did he. The whole time I am texting my boyfriend, who is not taking me seriously at all. I asked him to at least meet me at the station when I got to the stop by his apartment, a 5-minute walk, and he was being reluctant but finally agreed. At this point though, I'm still waiting for a train. One comes that's very full, but I'm getting restless and want to get to a safe place, so I squeeze on, and so does the man right next to me, with his arm over me. I decide that even with all these people around, I'm not safe. So right before the doors close, I hop out, and the train leaves with the guy on it, staring at me as I pulled away. I waited for a few more trains to come and go, worried the guy would be waiting for me at the next stop or something. I got on a train finally, paying attention to everyone who got on at each stop. He never did, and I made it to my stop, greeted by my boyfriend, who seemed put out by having to walk over. He is an ex-boyfriend, and was generally kind of shitty. I'm really proud of myself for getting off that train at the last second. I don't know how much danger I was in, but I know that man was following me, and definitely wasn't for any wholesome reason. And despite being in public, I feel like if he had tried anything, no one would have done shit, and I am a very small and not strong person. Women should not have to worry if they will become a victim to a violent crime, regardless of what they are wearing. What's worse is that this Redditor's boyfriend not only did not believe her, but acted like it was a chore to make sure his girlfriend got home safely. This is the attitude that many men, and even women, have toward instances like this. And with a violent crime rate that soared in 2020, it's no wonder people feel unsafe traveling alone. But sometimes, the creeps find you, even when you should be somewhere they would never go. Like a flower shop. This final story comes from user Hiccups Capone. This happened to me when I was in high school, long ago. My mom just recently found the paperwork about it when she cleaned out her office upon retiring from the police department. I remember being upset and scared when it happened, but reading the details as an adult, it sounded even worse than I remembered. I was 17, working at a flower and gift shop. It's nighttime. A man comes in. Short, overweight, balding, 40s, creepy. He tells me about how he needs an apology gift for his girlfriend. So I offer a bouquet. Obviously, it's a flower shop. He says she doesn't like flowers because they die. This was the first weird thing, as he came into a flower shop. Then he goes into detail about how he hit her, and asks me if I think he was right to do so. This was long ago, so I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was something along the lines of, "Not if you want her to continue being your girlfriend." He then tells me what a great job I'm doing, and asks when I get off work. I dodge answering. He leaves. Nothing for 6 months. Then right before Valentine's Day, he walks in the door 1 minute before close. It was dark, and from the outside it looked like I was working alone as my coworker, about 40, was in the bathroom. Instinctively, it felt like a predator had just entered the room. You know when something isn't right and everything felt not right. I then noticed he has a tarnished revolver tucked into the front of his windbreaker, which is halfway unzipped. It was obvious he wanted it seen. I quickly scribbled a note to my coworker that said, "He has a gun," and handed it to her when she came out of the bathroom. She calmly walked to the phone and looked at me, wordlessly asking if she should call the cops. I shook my head no, as I felt it would escalate the situation. God forbid he heard the police coming and took us hostage or something. I was just going to try and act as calm and normal as I could, and hopefully not tip the situation into something more dangerous. He spends 15 minutes wandering around what was a fairly small shop. In retrospect, he was probably waiting to see if my coworker would leave, as it was now well past closing. Finally, he places an order for pickup on Valentine's Day, which gives me his name and info on the police report I'm sure as hell about to file. He buys a card and pulls out a wad of $100 bills, which he slowly thumbs through as though looking for the right one with which to pay for his $40 order. I ask him if he wants a bag, as it wouldn't be very inconspicuous if he just showed up at home with a Valentine's Day card. He replies, "No, I didn't feel like being inconspicuous tonight," which seemed like an obvious reference to the gun hanging out of his coat. He leaves, and we quickly lock the door and watch him sit in his truck outside. We were not about to exit the shop until he was gone. Finally, he pulls out of his parking spot and moves to another spot further away and continues to just sit there. I don't know how long we waited, but he finally left. I called my mom, crying. She called the police, who came to the shop the next day to take a report. I told my best friend at the time what happened. She told her mother. Her mother happened to work with the man and informed security at her job. She said he was very weird, creepy, and liked to talk about weapons a lot. Security at his job, it's a large company with government contracts and things having to deal with tech and security, pulled him into the office and questioned him about it. He claimed it was a glove in his pocket, not a revolver. The police were pissed that his company made contact with him about it before they did, and he successfully dodged the cops' multiple calls and visits to his apartment. My mom, much to my teen fury at the time, made me quit my job, which was devastating as I loved it there. In retrospect, totally the right call. Dude came in on Valentine's Day and picked up his order. I never saw him again. That is such a creepy experience. I worked retail for many years and had many creepy situations happen, but nothing like that. If you are working retail or food service, and you have to close your shop prematurely because of something like this, call the police right away. They are able to send an officer out to your location to help with security, to inspect the area, and even to escort you to your car. You are not being a burden. This is what they are meant to do. That's it for the r/letsnotmeet stories today. What do you think of these? Have these true encounters of terrifying instances made you reconsider traveling by yourself? If you or a loved one have endured something like the stories we've read today, please leave them in a comment below. The more awareness we have of these situations, the more aware people might be of their surroundings, and you could end up saving a life. I hope you enjoyed this spooky story time. To be updated when I post next, subscribe and hit the notification bell. I upload to the Crafty Cryptid multiple times a week. Leave a comment and a thumbs up if you'd like me to continue reading stories from the r/letsnotmeet subreddit. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and come back soon, Cryptids.